Welcome, everybody, to Courtroom Insider. It is Monday, November 17th, 2025. I'm Nate Eaton. Thank you for being here. We have a lot of people here. So no matter where you're watching from, no matter what questions you have, please comment below. Let me know where you're watching from. And if you have any comments or questions, and at the end of the interview tonight, I will try to answer as many questions as I possibly can. Tonight, it's an interview that I have really been looking forward to bringing you all weekend long. I posted a photo on Saturday on my Facebook page of me and Judge Justin Beresky, and a lot of you commented, hundreds, actually, between all the platforms, thousands of comments, a lot of them about his flip-flops. And you all have a very keen eye. He was in flip-flops, and more than that, we had a great interview. I want to make it clear right off the bat, we don't talk about Daybell. We don't talk about Lori. We don't talk about the case. We don't talk about the crimes. We don't talk about the convictions. We don't go anywhere near that. And that was a condition that I offered up to Judge Beresky. Now, let me give you a little bit of background before we get to the interview on how this conversation came to be. Believe it or not, I actually have interviewed judges before. It is very rare. Usually there's a purpose behind it. Well, obviously there's a purpose behind it, but it's not like I can sit down and be like, all right, you convicted a guy last week. Why'd you do that? I've interviewed judges at the end of their careers when they look back on prominent cases they presided over. I've interviewed judges over other stuff. Most of the time, though, I speak with judges off the record, or they call to give me background information, or I know their receptionist. And then there are some, not their receptionist, their law clerk or whoever's helping them out. Then there are some judges that want nothing to do with the media. I was in a hotel lobby once, and a judge was staying at the same hotel, unbeknownst to me and unbeknownst to him probably. And he saw me in the lobby in the breakfast area and turned and immediately walked away. So there are some judges that don't want anything to do with reporters. I can respect that because it can be a little challenging and not challenging, but there can be issues that you might worry about if you speak with reporters. And that is why I appreciate Judge Beresky being willing to talk. Years ago, I was a brand new reporter, maybe a year or two on the job. I was at the Madison County Courthouse in Rexburg every day. And I was the only reporter there. Often I'd have my camera set up in the corner of the courtroom, and Judge Brent Moss would come in and I'd cover what was in his courtroom. And I remember there was one day where I think the defense was sick. Anyway, I was all set up and the hearing didn't happen. They had to vacate it. And the judge looked over and said, hey, young man, would you like to come into my chambers? Have you ever been into a judge's chambers? And I'm like, no. And he goes, why don't you come back and take a look? And he took me back there with the bailiff, and he showed me his office, his chambers, and all these legal books. And we sat down, and he told me about why he got interested in the law and how when he sentences someone, he considers this, this, this. And he let me ask him questions. This was an off-the-record conversation, but it helped me as a reporter understand what was going on and how this judge thought. I've never forgotten that, and I've appreciated judges, well, most judges. I've appreciated them, as they could probably say they appreciate most reporters since then. So a bit of background there. I reached out to Judge Beresky's office back in when Lori's trials were still going on. I believe it was the first one, Charles Vallow. And I sent a letter saying, I'd like to interview Judge Beresky, mainly because Judge Beresky is from here in Idaho. Here he grew up in Idaho in a little town called Grangeville, and decades later, he's presiding over a huge case that's live all over the internet and all over court TV and everything every day, and it has Idaho ties. He went to U of I Law School. He has these Idaho ties. And so I pitched the idea of doing a profile interview to get to know him, his thoughts on the law, why he became a lawyer, his family, things like that. He wrote me back, but it went to my junk mail. And I didn't know that because he wrote me back a few weeks later and said, I'm willing to discuss this with you, but I need a few more details. Can you call me? And then I'm like, oh my gosh, he wrote me back and I missed it. It went to my junk email. So I called him and I said, listen, I'm not going to ambush you about Vallow. I'm not going to, I understand that there are guidelines that I have to follow. And one thing led to another, several weeks of back and forth and whatnot. And and he finally agreed to an interview. And I appreciate that. So again, we're not going to talk about Daybell Vallow, but I do think you'll get a new insight, I hope, on Judge Beresky, on who he is as a person. He became this internet star that many of you women love and a lot of you men love and comment on, and Judge McSteamy, Judge McDreamy. I do want to tell you that at the end of tonight's episode on eastidahonews.com, we're publishing a full written story about him. I interviewed his a kid that he was friends with since the 5th grade, who still lives in Idaho. I interviewed him. I interviewed his former law partner. I interviewed a couple of attorneys that have worked with him. So there's more context to him. So without me talking anymore, here is my interview with Judge Justin Beresky. First of all, Judge, thank you for chatting with me today. I want to go back to the beginning. What was life like for you growing up in Idaho?
Life was good. Grangeville was a good place to grow up. We lived out in the country outside of town, but it was a sort of a neighborhood with a number of kids around. Things like riding bikes all summer, riding your bikes to town to go to the pool, playing hide and seek in the summer, and skiing in the winter, and lots of outdoor activities, camping, going to the rivers. There's a couple of rivers around Grangeville, or going up into the forest. It was good.
So I guess I looked it up. North central part of the state, population around 3,000. So
Yeah.
I imagine your high school was kind of small.
It was, I guess it depends on where you're from.
Right, yeah.
Probably small by most standards. So I think I had, I want to say 60 something people in my graduating class, and probably the bulk of those people, the majority, I had known since kindergarten.
Wow.
So
did you all know everybody in town?
Maybe not, but you knew someone that knew someone else. So by maybe 1 or 2 degrees of separation, you did know everybody in town.
Yeah. Did you anticipate when you were growing up that, oh, I'm always going to stay here, this is going to be my life?
If you had asked me where I saw myself maybe when I was in the middle of high school, I probably would have said I would have returned to Grangeville and become a high school teacher. Yeah.
What piqued your interest in that?
When I was in 3rd or 4th grade, I took some sort of basic aptitude test, and it's actually kind of funny. It said I should either be a teacher, a lawyer, or a garbage man. So I don't know what the relationship is, the commonality between all 3 of those, but I, in a way, did 2 of those.
Right, yeah, well, yeah. And it was fortuitous. Did you think at that time, oh, a lawyer, what's that? Or did you?
I don't remember. I mean, I had an idea of what lawyers did, just a very abstract sort of idea, but I don't know that at that age I would have had a very good idea of what it was. We had a big trial in Grangeville when I was in 6th grade. It was actually a capital case, and it kind of captivated the town for while it was going on. It was 2 brothers that had been accused of committing a murder in the Forest Service, National Forest, and they both got sentenced to the death penalty. I think they're still alive. I think it's been up and down. There's been a reversal.
Oh wow!
One of the brothers got commuted to a life sentence. I think the other one's still on death row, and that was in 1986, I think, somewhere around there.
And you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And
so I think that was what first got me interested in, or came on my radar as far as courts and lawyers and things like that.
So what did your parents do for work?
My mom stayed at home, was a stay-at-home mom for most of my childhood. She got a realtor's license and did a little bit of that. She had a side business. She would go into other people's homes and give women consultations on what colors were good for them to wear and that sort of thing, like fashion sort of thing. She actually put on a fashion show in Grangeville when I was in 6th or 7th grade, I think, with the local JCPenney providing all the clothes and everything.
Were you one of the models?
I was. I think she has a picture in her living room where I have my sister on one arm and my sister's best friend, and we're all dressed up going down the runway, so to speak.
Oh, that's cool. So does she still help you pick out your outfits?
No, that would be a disaster.
Okay.
She likes purple a lot of purple.
A lot of purple. Well,
Yeah.
nothing. Some people love purple. Tell me about border days.
Oh, Border Days is a big deal.
Yeah.
That is anyone who's grown up in Grangeville or any of the surrounding communities knows about Border Days. It's a big celebration every 4th of July. That's when people have their high school reunions. They come back to town. It's just an unwritten sort of notice to everyone. If you're going to come back and visit, that's the weekend to do it. So depending on when the 4th falls, it's a 3-day thing. It could be the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th. It could be the 3rd, 4th, or 5th. And they have every day there's street sports in the morning for the kids, races. We have a giant egg toss.
Yeah, I read that it's the largest egg toss in the world.
Yeah, so everyone lines up on Main Street at something like 8 or 9 in the morning, and you start throwing an egg to your partner back and forth, and the distances get greater and greater and greater. And usually the person that wins, the pair that wins, they're throwing it about a full city block and catching it. And there's thousands of eggs smashed on the Main Street, and then there's a rodeo and a parade every day. And
yeah, the state's oldest rodeo, from what I read. Did you ever win the egg toss?
I never won the egg toss. I have had friends that have, and they take it very serious, I think, still to this day.
And I imagine there's trophies or ribbons or something.
I don't know. I remember being a kid in the street races. They'd have different age groups, and you would run the 50 yards or whatever it was, and they would always hand out 50-cent pieces to the winners, and that was always a big deal when you were a kid.
Right. So notable people who come from Grangeville, according to Wikipedia.
Oh.
George and Warren Cowgill. Matt Hill, he's an NFL tackle. Larry Ramos, a Grammy award-winning singer. Ken Schramm, an MLB pitcher. Do you know any of those names?
Matt Hill and Ken Schramm I've heard of, yes.
I'm surprised your name is not on the list. I would imagine you've become notable. What happened after high school? Where did you decide to go to college?
I went to the University of New Mexico. My dad had moved to New Mexico when I was in high school. And the typical high school kids, a lot of them think, I need to get out of this state. I need to get out of town. I'm going to go out of state, find some new exciting adventure. So I went to the University of New Mexico.
Oh, we talked about what your mom did. What did your dad do?
My dad was a chiropractor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was in Grangeville. It's an interesting mix between, it's on the Camas Prairie. There's a lot of farmers there, but it's also surrounded by national forests. There's a lot of loggers and a lot of back problems that came with that. So my dad had a pretty decent practice there.
Is that why you have such good posture?
I've never been accused of having good posture.
Oh, okay. Well, it maybe kept him in business.
Yeah.
So, University of New Mexico, and how was that experience?
I really liked New Mexico, and I liked, for me, growing up in Grangeville and then moving to Albuquerque, it was like this big adventure. I was like in a big city for the first time in my life. And now being in Phoenix, Albuquerque doesn't seem like it was that big of a city anymore. But yeah, I went to the University of New Mexico, my degree in secondary education. So,
so you did study education?
Yeah, in college at that point, I was still planning on becoming a teacher.
And did you have a subject you wanted to teach?
So my senior year of college, I student taught at a local high school. I did U.S. government, I think. It's been a long time. U.S. history and government civics type courses, yeah.
When did you decide to switch?
To law?
To law, yeah.
I was about to graduate at 21. I was only at 21, and I thought it's a little early to maybe get tied into a teaching career. Why don't I go to law school and just see what happens? So I didn't really have a specific idea. I just thought, well, I'm not done with school yet. So I took the LSAT, applied to some law schools. Yeah.
Was it because you were something particularly piqued your interest, or was it just more, you've got the time, let's go see if I like it?
Yeah, I was more of that. I just didn't think I was ready quite yet to start a career that might take me for the rest of my life at age 21.
And when you got to law school, did you decide, I want to go back home to Idaho, or did you just apply all over? And
I applied at several places. Idaho was a big factor, though, because I could still get in-state tuition, and it was a fairly inexpensive school, and I'm very happy with my decision. I think the education I got there was great, and I paid so much less than so many people I knew. I knew people graduating with $100,000 plus in student loans, and I got out of Idaho for a fraction of that.
What was the best thing about law school?
I don't know if I have an answer to that. I really enjoyed the trial week that we did before our final year, where you get together with other students in your class and you're trained on how to do a trial. And at the end of the week, you learn the different aspects: cross-examination, direct examination. And at the end of the week, you put on a trial. And that week, I think, really galvanized for me that I'd like to be in the courtroom when I became a lawyer.
And now you were just in Idaho doing the same thing as an advisor, right?
I recently went back to Idaho and got invited back to teach that program, to be one of the teachers in that program, yeah.
And was that the first time?
Yes.
And what was that like?
I've been wanting to do that for a while, and I got invited this year. It was great. I loved it. You see the progression between, it starts on a Saturday and it goes through the following Friday, and the progression of the students and how much they improve and get some trial skills in that week, and their confidence and just learning. It's really rewarding.
Would you ever go back and teach law school full time? Like combine that passion of education with the law?
Sure, if the right opportunity came up, I'd definitely consider that for sure.
You get your law degree, and is that when you start looking for jobs?
So I was pretty naive graduating law school. I didn't really know how to get a job. Back then, most jobs you look in the newspaper, right? On Sunday, they had big classified ads, pages and pages of classified ads. I didn't even know about the bar magazine where most of those ads are, and you don't get that until you actually pass the bar and they mail it to you. So I wasn't even aware of that until after I had passed the bar. So in waiting for your bar results and taking the bar, I should say, and waiting for your bar results was several months. So I literally walked into different law firms and knocked on the door and, tried to find my way in.
And were you doing that in Moscow?
No, and I had moved to Arizona after graduating.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Why Arizona?
I had connections to Arizona, and I knew that I liked the climate. I'd been here before several times, and I just thought it was going to be a better job market. I was naive in that sense too, because I thought I'd come to Arizona, Phoenix, and be here for a year or two, and then maybe take a bar somewhere else and move there. So I had no plan to stay here, and then it just sort of happened. I got into this career here and have stayed and plan on staying until my career's over. So.
Was there a particular aspect of the law that you liked, like prosecution, criminal, civil, defense?
So I knew that I wanted to be in the courtroom, and to be in the courtroom on a regular basis, the best option is criminal law. So in civil practice, most of the practice is done outside the courtroom. It's a lot of litigation pre-trial. A lot of the issues are litigated pre-trial. To be in a courtroom regularly, it's either criminal law or family law. And I didn't really have a preference for defense or criminal, or defense or prosecution. I just, the prosecutor's office, I had put in an application there, and they called me, and I went through the process and became a prosecutor for the Maricopa County Attorney's Office. Did that for a couple of years.
That was your first job?
Yeah. Well, my second job. I worked for a little bit for a civil practitioner. When I said I was walking indoors and trying to find a job, I literally walked in, I went in the yellow pages and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I looked in the general practice area of the yellow pages, which there weren't very many law firms that just did a general practice. And I walked into several of them with a resume, and I think the guy that hired me was kind of taking pity on me and throwing me a bone. He hired me, and I was kind of more of a paralegal more than anything else for him, but he gave me my first job, and then when the prosecutor's office called, I went there.
So you started in prosecution. Mm-hmm. Were you actually making arguments in front of a judge, or more assisting the prosecutors?
No, the great thing about here in Phoenix, whether you're at the Maricopa County Attorney's Office or the Public Defender's Office, if you get a job there, you're going to be in the courtroom right away. You're going to be arguing cases. Back then, we would go out to the justice courts, and they'd give you lower level cases at first: traffic tickets, misdemeanors, DUIs, those sorts of things. But you were in the courtroom right away, and I think I did my first jury trial within 2 or 3 months of working there.
Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, it was a DUI trial in justice court. Yeah, and actually, the defense attorney was a really well-known, high-profile defense attorney, and he would have absolutely mopped the floor with me, but the person that was my second chair, who was my mentor, kind of had to take over partway through the trial and help me out quite a bit.
And did you guys win?
We did win.
Oh, okay. So good. Your first jury trial,
Yeah.
you win.
Yep.
How long were you with the prosecutor's office?
2 years. 2 years.
And at that point, were you just ready for something new, or how did you transition?
There was a number of things that came into play at that time. A supervisor came in that I did not get along with, and was sort of a micromanager, and in my opinion had some ethical issues and these sorts of things. And so someone I had met at the county attorney's office I had become really good friends with, and we decided we were going to go into practice together and open up our own office.
And would this be defending people?
No, not at all. We opened up an office, and when you're opening up an office, you kind of take almost whatever comes into the door. So we did all sorts of things. We did civil, we did family, we did small claims type stuff. We did some bankruptcies. It eventually did evolve into mostly criminal defense work, though.
And what was that like, kind of starting this business on your own, hoping that clients come to you and hire you so that you can make a living?
It was kind of scary, and I probably should have been more scared than I actually was. We opened our office in the end of June 2001, and then September 11, 2001 happened a couple months after we'd opened. We didn't know how that was going to affect anything. You know, everything was thrown in turmoil, and whether, you know, what was going to happen. Was that going to affect people even wanting to hire a lawyer? We just didn't know. So I just remember that very distinctly when that happened.
And you end up defending people. Mm-hmm. And what was that like, going from the prosecution side to the defense side? Did it take a different set of skills?
I think it does take a different set of skills somewhat. You have to have a certain bedside manner with you have to build a rapport with your client. A lot of times getting your client to trust you that your advice is what's in their best interest, because sometimes you have to tell them things that they don't want to hear, or you have to tell them things that maybe are probably bad news for them. Also, it's just a different type of advocacy when you're prosecuting versus defending. It's just a different way that you have to present to the jury. I think when you're a prosecutor, you also have already a little bit of built-in credibility and gravitas with the jury, just from the nature of being a prosecutor. So you have to work a little more as a defense attorney to get that sort of consideration with the jury, I think.
Do you recall a case where you were the defense attorney that was extra challenging, or one that sticks out to you where you really had to work extra hard?
I don't recall having to work extra hard, because I'll tell you that I think I put in the same amount of effort on
every case. Yeah.
Every case, whatever it calls for, right? I do recall cases that I felt were more stressful because of the particular set of facts or what was at stake, for sure.
There's people that will look at, law shows, Law and Order or whatever, and even real life trials, and they'll say, how can that defense attorney represent someone so vile? Or how can that defense attorney, why would they even want that job? Do people ever say that to you, and what's your response to them?
Sure. I mean, I've had my own family members say, how could you represent someone like that? So, they're people. When you get to know them, they've done something perhaps very awful. But in the end of the day, you're just trying to make sure, to a certain extent, the process works and that their constitutional rights aren't violated, that everyone follows the law. So people say, oh, that person got off on a technicality or whatever. Well, I don't think constitutional rights are technicality, And I've had people that were truly innocent of what they've been charged with. And those are difficult cases too. So I don't go into a case thinking you're guilty or you're innocent. I just go and try to get the best result that I can for my client.
And did you ever say, did you do it?
No.
Do you want to know, though?
Sometimes you might have a suspicion, but part of the reason you don't ask your client flat out, did you do it, is because if your client decides they want to testify, you can't put someone on the stand if they're saying something that you know that they've told you different. In other words, you can't allow them to commit perjury on the stand. So there's that reason. There's other reasons that you wouldn't ask someone if they did it or not. Now, if they decide that they want to testify and you're going over their testimony and things like that, you can do that. But sometimes in a case you don't want to know, and it doesn't really matter in defending someone when you're just trying to get the best result that you can for them. You know, I'd have clients that would say, oh, you know, you just think I did it, or you're just working for the prosecutor's office, or, you know, that can be difficult because some of these legal concepts are hard for them to grasp, and you can explain to them, it doesn't matter to me if you did it or not, I'm still going to try to get the best result that I can for you.
Do you watch legal shows?
I've watched, over the years, yeah, I used to watch Law & Order back the original run. I don't know, I think it's still on, maybe it's
still on, like season
iteration.
95? Or...
Yeah. That one was kind of realistic in the sense that some of the arguments and some of the courtroom scenes were kind of realistic. Other ones that drive me crazy, my wife and I, we watched Suits for a while, and it's so ridiculous. I mean, someone gets charged with murder and they're in trial 3 days later, you know, right. Or CSI where the DNA results or the magic fingerprints are run through this thing and they have matches on everything in 10 minutes. It's just, it doesn't work that way at all.
Have you seen Jury Duty on Amazon?
I have. It's funny.
I guess they're coming out with another season.
Oh, I thought it was hilarious. I mean, a lot of it was very cringy that I don't think would actually ever happen.
Yeah.
But it was, I thought it was entertaining, I have to admit.
I thought it was pretty good, yeah. Okay, so you have your practice, you're defending people. Were you looking for something more in your career?
Not specifically, no. Are you asking why, like...
Yeah, how did the judge position come about?
So really what happened was I had a really bad experience with a judge in court, and the judge was being just rude, unnecessarily so. And
to you?
To me, to everyone. And this thought just popped into my head, was I could do better than that. And I had never really thought about being a judge or anything at any point. And I think that thought kind of took seed and it kind of developed. And after a while, the more I thought about it, the more I thought I really could do a good job as a judge, I think. And that's where that started.
And how does the process for that work in Arizona or in Maricopa County? In
Maricopa County, you have to go through a vetting process. So you apply to be a judge. A committee meets. A committee's appointed by the governor. There's a number of attorneys on the committee. There's a number of regular citizens on the committee. There's a Supreme Court justice that usually chairs the committee. And that committee, I think it's about 15 people. They go through all the applications. They vet the applications. They check references. They try to call collateral references. And then they decide who gets an interview. Then you go in front of that committee and you do an interview. And that committee decides whether your name should be forwarded to the governor's office. Then the governor's office, most governors have historically interviewed candidates. Some haven't in the past, but then you interview with the governor or some of his staff or her staff now. And then the governor makes an appointment, appoints you to the bench.
And is that what happened with you?
Eventually, I didn't get through on the first time or the second time. It took a few applications, yeah.
And tell me about, didn't you serve time as a commissioner?
Yes.
So how did that process work?
It's a similar process, except you're hired by the presiding judge of the Maricopa County Superior Court. So the equivalent in Idaho, I think, we call ourselves Maricopa County Superior Court judges. I think you have district judges, and it can be more than one county.
Yep.
And then you have magistrates. So our court commissioner is similar to your magistrate in Idaho.
So you decide to apply for the commissioner role, and you get that. And what type of cases are you handling at that point?
Me personally, or in general? I started out in the probation violation court. And then I After that, I was assigned to as a special assignment commissioner, which kind of means you're have legal pad will travel. You get plugged in to fill different spots. If a judge had retired from a particular rotation, family court, you get plugged in to handle that calendar until a new judge is appointed. So I did that for several years too, which I think helped my application process because it showed that I could do these judge calendars and go in and handle these different calendars.
And are you called a judge or a commissioner?
Commissioner, yeah.
So Commissioner Beresky.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And you didn't get in the first time to be a judge or the second time? Third time?
I honestly don't remember. Third, somewhere around
Somewhere
there.
in there.
Third, fourth.
And is this over a series of years?
So we have 100 judges in Maricopa County and 80 court commissioners. So with 100 judges, we would have several retirements a year, 2 or 3 a year, sometimes 4 or 5 a year. When I was appointed, 3 other commissioners and I were appointed the same day as judges. So at that time, there were 3 vacancies. So we must have had 3 retirements.
Oh, wow. So you're just waiting for someone to retire
Yeah.
and then you put in for it.
Yes.
What was the feeling for you when you got finally selected?
Relief.
Yeah.
It's a process because applying to be a judge, you have to ask people for help, which I really don't like doing. Ask people to call people on your behalf, call someone at the governor's office. Do you know anyone at the governor's office? You're trying to find these different inroads to get that leg up over the other applicants.
So you get accepted and you become a judge. The governor swears you in?
I don't think the governor swore me in.
Oh, somebody swears you in.
Someone swore me in. I think it was at the Secretary of State's office.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you remember your first case that came before you?
As a judge,
Yeah.
I stayed on the same calendar I was handling it, which I was on a family court calendar at the time. So the only thing that really changed was my title.
Your title.
Yeah.
And hopefully your pay.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk about the rotations. You're in the family court rotation, which is something that is different than in Idaho, where in Idaho you have a district judge and they handle everything for life. They're not, whatever comes in front of them.
Yeah.
How does it work here?
So I think because of our population, Maricopa County is approaching 4 million people, if it hasn't already passed that. 100 judges, 80 commissioners. I don't know how many years ago, in the 80s maybe, they decided to specialize into these different departments. So you have a criminal department, a civil department, a family department, a juvenile department, and then there's a couple very small departments, which is probate, tax, and there's a mental health department. So those judges, if you're in the civil department, you're only handling civil lawsuits, civil cases. If you're in the criminal department, you're only handling criminal cases, so on and so forth.
And you don't get to choose.
You don't get to choose. You can put in a request that, hey, I'd prefer, this is my number one choice. So every January, maybe it's December, every December the presiding judge sends out a memo to everyone. It says, there's going to be some rotations coming in the next year. We'll consider your first, second, third choice. Tell me where you're currently presiding or where you're currently serving and how long you've been there. So you fill out the memo. It's just a one-page thing. First choice, criminal. Second choice, juvenile. Last choice, family.
And you started in family.
I started in family.
And what
I
type
did
of cases are
a
those?
total of 4 years in family, which is all divorce, custody, a lot of custody, divorce, people fighting over visitation with their children, child support, splitting up assets and debts, all those sorts of things.
You go from family to where?
Criminal.
Criminal. And now recently you've been transferred over to?
Juvenile. So juvenile is parents dealing with the Department of Child Safety comes in and takes their kids because they're on drugs or they're abusive or they're homeless and they can't provide for their children. A bunch of different reasons kids can come into care. The kids end up in foster care or group home, or hopefully they can get placed with a relative so they don't have to go into a foster care or things like that. Dealing with parents that get their rights to their children terminated, unfortunately. On the other hand, sometimes there's some happy endings where kids have their biological parents' rights terminated, but then they get adopted by another family.
So somebody listening to all that might think, man, that's so depressing.
It can be. It
Yeah.
can be. Yeah.
What?
It can be very heavy. Some days you're reading these reports and you're talking to these lawyers and parents, and you're trying not to really picture or think about what these kids are doing, living, serious mental health issues. They're living in a lockdown facility. They're 13 years old. I mean, it's got to be horrible.
Right. Was it in some ways easier to do criminal?
Yeah. Criminal was easier than family because in family, you're dealing with people that are a lot of times being irrational. They're spending literally thousands of dollars in attorney's fees fighting over a set of dishes that's worth a couple $100 because of the principle of the matter, right? In criminal court, it was easier to make someone happy that had to go to prison for 5 years than the people fighting over the dishes. And I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating.
Good. I could see your point. Yeah, 5 years. Oh, good. It's not 10.
Yeah, right.
Do you have a section that's your favorite? Or as a judge, you're not supposed to have
I like
favorites?
criminal. I was very comfortable in criminal because that was my background. So I felt like I did a good job in criminal as far as doing settlement conferences and trials and those sorts of things. So that would be my number one choice. Just, I don't know if it's the comfort factor. The good thing about our rotations, though, is it helps keep things from getting stale, gives you something new. You have to learn a new whole area of law that you haven't practiced before. So a lot of learning curve.
By observation, you run a very efficient courtroom. Is that kind of how you've always been?
I think so. I don't have an answer to that. I just run it how I run it. I see it. I think I'm efficient. I was efficient in family court. I guess they do track statistics of how long you've had a certain case open, what's your average case length, settling cases. There's all kinds of statistics that they keep. How long you have cases under advisement, meaning how long does it take you to rule on something. And yeah, I am efficient. How I do that, I don't know. It's just innate for me.
Did you learn that or observe that from another judge or something along the way? Because, I've been in a courtroom where a judge can talk for 30 minutes when they really could have done Beresky style and said it in a minute.
I guess everyone has their own style and what they're comfortable with. I used to give more soapbox speeches in family court when I first started, and then the same people would keep coming back, and I got a little discouraged not knowing how effective those were. So I think I'm more selective now on my getting on the soapbox.
Why do judges not comment on their cases?
So, especially for an ongoing case that's in front of them, you can't make any comments because you can't have any sort of perceived bias or favoritism towards one side or the other. And, anything you say could be taken out of context or portrayed that you meant it one way when you meant it another. So we're governed by ethical rules, judicial canons that prevent us from making comments on ongoing cases.
And you don't get to choose your cases here.
No.
They're just assigned.
They're assigned.
And you just get like an email or something pops up on the docket like, oh, I have a new case today for an arraignment or something?
So because we're so specialized, the court commissioner does the arraignment calendar. The clerk's office has some system that they randomly, I picture it like a deck of cards. We have 10 cases today, we're handing them out. So when the commissioner does the arraignment, they'll say, so-and-so, I'm entering a not guilty plea on your behalf. This case is assigned to Judge Beresky. Your first court date in front of him is on such and such date. And yeah, it magically appears on my calendar for whatever date. And then from there on out, I have it unless something changes.
And a lot of times, or most times, you go in not knowing anything about the case.
Yeah, you purposely, we don't do any research. We're prohibited from doing any research, again, by the ethical canons. Both sides want to know that a judge is making the decision based on the information that's in front of the court. So whether it's a motion to do something and the pleadings and what's in the indictment and what's in the record, they don't want a judge going out and saying, oh, I saw something on Instagram and I heard XYZ, when it may not even be true. So there's reasons for that you don't research something. Also, if you know a lot about a case before it ever gets to you, you run the risk of having some sort of preconceived idea about the case before you've even seen one on it. So it's better to not have that.
So do you have to like avoid watching the news?
No, not necessarily, but I don't go seek those things out. I've had plenty of cases where I'll do a settlement conference, and during the course of the settlement conference, I had a case once where a guy had gone into I think it was a Quick Trip, and asked for a pack of cigarettes, and then just shot the worker in the head point blank. And it wasn't until I was in the settlement conference that I realized, oh, I think I saw this case on the news when it happened. But I don't have a lot more other than that recollection that, oh, maybe I saw this on the news. So no, we're not prohibited from watching the news.
What are your thoughts about cameras in the courtroom?
I don't care for them. I think, especially when you've got cases where there's lots of cameras in the courtroom and different angles, I think it just leads to it becoming more of a spectacle than a proceeding.
But in Arizona, correct me if I'm wrong, it's kind of not expected, but cameras basically are allowed in.
They are. There's Arizona Supreme Court rule. There's case law that says the courtrooms are supposed to be open. It's a presumption that the public can be in, that the press can be in. We have cameras in that record our proceedings anyway. So I think there is that strong presumption that cameras can be in the courtroom. It's just a question of how many is appropriate, what kind of angles are appropriate. Are we turning this into some sort of reality TV show when the focus should be actually on the proceeding itself?
What's the hardest part about being a judge?
The hardest part? Just some cases are just really hit home. There's just, sometimes you see some tragedy. You get people in front of you that are going through the worst thing in their lives. You have people that have lost a child or a parent. I think we get a lot of vicarious trauma, and we're expected to be stoic, and that can be difficult.
I was going to ask you that. How do you keep that poker face and not get emotional, or even maybe laugh or smile at certain things?
It can be challenging, yeah. I've wanted to laugh. I mean, I have laughed in some proceedings, or I have made maybe a comment that wasn't the wisest to make during a proceeding, but it can be difficult to maintain that stoic, even keel throughout proceedings.
Have you ever had to take a break?
Sure.
To get your emotions under control?
Yeah, I've had cases where I'm just, keep it together. I'm telling myself, don't let them hear the crack in your voice,
What makes a good judge?
I think a good judge is one who treats everyone that comes into the courtroom with fairness, respect, and dignity. We say that at the start of our proceedings in criminal court. Everyone has the right to be treated with fairness, respect, and dignity, whether you're the prosecutor, whether you're a victim, whether you're the defendant. Just treat everyone fairly and courteously. I think that goes a really long way to just promoting civility. I know some people in the public get disappointed when we're all not like Judge Judy, right? And that's entertainment. I don't think that's how courtrooms should work.
Do you ever pull out a little bit of Judge Judy, though, in your courtroom? And
I plead the fifth on that. No, I've been known to get snarky or make, a wisecrack here and there. So it's not all stoic all the time.
Right. I wondered, though, if you sometimes feel prohibited in expressing your true personality. Do you feel the need to always be so serious? And
I think it's one of those read the room situations.
Yeah.
So if I'm doing a settlement conference, it's more casual. I'll have a really casual conversation with the defendant like this about the situation that they're in, about where they see their case going and those sorts of things. So it's really situational. So there have been situations where a joke is made, or tears are shed, those sorts of things. It just depends on the situation. But there's not a requirement that we be stoic. I think part of that stoicism that you see in judges is that they're working really hard at not appearing to have a bias or favoring one side or the other. Because, I remember once there was this judge who had the worst poker face in the world, and the defendant took the stand, and defendant says something, the judge is rolling his eyes and that sort of thing. And the problem with that is if the jury sees that, then they're taking a cue from the judge, and that's a real problem.
You seem to really want to, and all judges really want to protect the jurors during these trials.
Yeah.
Have you ever had to declare a mistrial because something goes wrong with the jury?
I've had to declare a mistrial where one of the attorneys said something that they shouldn't have said in front of the jury. I'm trying to think. I haven't had anything. When I was an attorney, I had a client that freaked out when the jury found him guilty and started fighting with the deputy and had to be dragged into the courtroom or out of the courtroom. But in that case, the jury's job was done. Luckily, if it had happened before the jury had reached their verdict, I don't know what would have happened, if it would have been a mistrial or not, because defendants can't purposely do something that would cause a mistrial.
Right.
So
I asked you about the worst part about being a judge, or the hardest part about being a judge. What's the best part?
the best part is the private bathroom.
Is that what's behind that? Is that what's behind your door?
We have a secret bathroom for that.
Wow.
So.
Is there a snack bar back there too?
There's no snack bar. Oh. There's no bar. There's no workout room.
Oh darn.
But in all seriousness, I think I don't know what the best thing is about being a judge. I like to think that there's some respect and dignity in it. I joke that it's nice being a judge because people listen to you in the courtroom and they kind of have to do what you say. Unfortunately, it doesn't translate at home.
Yeah.
So.
I was about to say, does that work for your kids?
No, it doesn't.
Well, at least for 8 hours a day, you get that.
Yeah.
What do you think about America's, and now the world's, fascination with true crime?
I don't know what to make of it. For me, it's difficult because I see these things every day, especially on a criminal calendar. So it doesn't hold as much fascination for me. I don't know. Some people, I think it's like watching a car wreck, the fascination with what can go wrong and why is this happening and watching tragedy for some reason. I don't know. But I don't have an answer to that.
But you're not coming home and binge watching the latest true crime show on Netflix.
I am not. My wife, on the other hand, is very into true crime shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Biggest misconception of being a judge?
I think one of the biggest ones is definitely what I said about the Judge Judy thing. I think the public out there, when they come into court, they expect a judge to be mean or belittle one side or the other, or have these zinger one-liners against one side or the other. And I think they're disappointed when that doesn't happen, which I don't like.
What do you do to unwind?
What do I do to unwind? I try to get out and exercise. My wife and I take walks when it's not too hot, walk the dog, go to the gym, go on a hike. There's great preserves here in Phoenix where you can get out and go on whatever level of hike you want, whether it's moderate to strenuous, within a 5 or 10 minute drive from my house. So those types of things. In the winter, I still go skiing. Idaho boy, living in Arizona, but I still go skiing up in Flagstaff several times a year. Like going to the beach when we can get to the beach. A lot of outdoor stuff, I guess.
Do you have greater ambition as far as another career move? And what would that be?
No, not really.
You don't want to be a legal analyst for East Idaho News, or?
What's the pay?
Right. Fame.
Not for fame.
No, you don't want fame.
No. If the price were right, I suppose I'd have to consider it, right?
Right. Well, I guess maybe teaching at a law school or something like that.
Yeah, I could see myself teaching in the future. I think I will stick with this until I reach my retirement age. But I don't have any ambition to go to the Court of Appeals or anything higher like that. So
Right.
I'm very happy being in a trial court.
Do you foresee or have you experienced yourself challenges facing the legal system? Like if you could change one thing about the legal system, what would it be?
One of the biggest challenges on the horizon is how we're going to deal with AI type things. Up until now, it's been very easy. In a case, say a witness says, you know, they're shown a photograph. Does this look like the scene of the crime on the date? Well, yes, it does. That photograph's admitted into evidence. Well, now with AI, with things being manipulated, it's going to be very difficult to determine what's real and what's not real. We're already seeing that, right, in various news sources and things like that. There's videos posted saying it's one thing and it's not even a real thing, it's an AI generated thing. And I think that's going to be a real challenge in courtrooms going forward, because you know the job in the courtroom is to try to get to the truth of the matter, and that's going to be real challenging when you can't even tell if a video is real or not. We're already seeing cases where, so child pornography, for example, it has to be of a real child. So now they're able to run a picture that is real child porn through a program that changes some of it, and now it's showing that it's AI created. So what do we do with that now? Because under the legal definition that we have right now, it's no longer child porn.
That's interesting, because Idaho just passed a law where AI porn for children is treated the same.
I'm sure that's going to happen.
Right. I would imagine cases involving children are the hardest.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Those the sex cases, the abuse cases, for sure the hardest.
Would you mind telling me about your family?
Sure. I have a beautiful family. I have a wife, and we're a second marriage for each of us. So she brought in a daughter, and I brought in a son, and it's just been amazing.
Tell me about your wife.
My wife is great. I think she makes me a better person in a lot of ways. She's taught me a lot of patience, empathy. I think probably she's made me a better judge since I've gotten to know her.
And your kids too? At least the patience side of things?
The patience side with the kids is a big thing for sure. Having kids, teenage girl, that'll test your patience.
Yes.
The kids really love it too when I tell dad jokes.
Do you have a dad joke that you can share with us?
I have all sorts of dad jokes. They're terrible though. It's like, when does a joke become a dad joke?
When?
When it becomes apparent.
That's a good one.
Da-dun, dun.
I'm going to use that.
Yeah.
What do you guys like to do for fun?
Well, getting everyone on the same page can be difficult, but we do like to, we'll have like a family game night. Some Sunday nights we'll play Uno and Skip-Bo and different games like that. We always like to go down to Rocky Point, Mexico, and hang out on the beach for a long weekend, get away from the phones and the TVs and all that sort of thing. Just literally swim, play card games on the beach. The kids always want to rent jet skis, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
There's a river here, the Salt River out in East Mesa. We like to go out on that. My wife has a paddleboard, I have a kayak. We drug the kids. They don't love it as much as we do. There's wild horses out there in the river. It's really a great escape from the city, and it's only about a 40-minute drive away.
What's your favorite part about being a dad?
I don't know. I've always loved kids. If you, again, going back to that question, if you would ask me where I saw myself when I was in high school, I would have told you I'd probably have like six kids or something like that. That never worked out for me, but I love it. I wish I had time to have more, but I'm getting too old. I have a friend that's a judge that he had a child at 50, so we joke that he's going to get the best parking at the high school graduation.
Right, yeah. Tell me about your last vacation.
Last vacation, my wife's from Michigan, and we went up in July to Michigan and toured the whole state from the southeast in Detroit all the way up to the Upper Peninsula, almost to Wisconsin, back down again. never really enjoyed Michigan that much because we'd usually gone in the winter or things like that. And it was really great to see the state, and going out on the Great Lakes was amazing. You go out there and you would think you're in the middle of the ocean. You can't see land anywhere in some spots. And lot to offer in Michigan. I didn't realize they're the cherry capital of the U.S.
Oh, I didn't know that either. Yeah. Well, Idaho's the potato capital. So.
I get that a lot. Everyone that meets me, when they say, "Oh, you're from Idaho," they always ask if I grew up on a potato farm.
Right.
Yeah.
If I'm back east, I say Idaho, they go, Iowa?
I get that too. I once had asked someone asked me if I was going to be going through Des Moines when I went home, and I said, not unless I got really lost.
I met a woman randomly on the street one day a few months ago who said that she was a translator in the court system, and she had been in your courtroom, and she said nothing but praise about you, that everybody respected you, and that you're humble, that you're very humble. And I know once you think you're humble, you're not. So, and I know that this isn't the most comfortable thing for you to do, sit in front of cameras and talk about yourself. But why do you think that's important, an important characteristic for a judge or a person in authority to have?
I think it's important to not appear to be above anyone, not to talk down to anyone, to try to talk to people on their level. Unfortunately, I think some judges will get stuck using legalese and things like that people don't really understand. So I always just try to talk to people in real terms. But I do think that's important to not think you're better than anyone that's appearing in front of you.
I'm sure you've seen some attorneys and judges maybe that have loved being the center of attention, that like the cameras in the courtroom, that like that sort of an environment. That's not you, though.
I don't think so. I think other people might say that maybe I do, but I don't think so.
What do your siblings and your family members think of your career choice?
Of my career choice?
Of what you're doing now?
I don't know. I was very happy when they all came for when you're appointed as a judge by the governor, it's tradition to have sort of this investiture ceremony, and you have a party afterwards. And I was very happy that they all came. I was like, you don't have to come. It's no big deal, blah, blah, blah. But I was happy they all came.
Who have been some of your role models?
I have several colleagues that I would consider amazing role models. Our current presiding judge is a real role model. I've had, in some regards, I think my wife is a great role model. Yeah, sure, I've had different people. My dad and I have a complicated relationship, but even in that, I would take something from that I would like, and it's same with my mom. I observe all these people, and I observe good qualities in them, and I think I take a little bit from a lot of different people as role models.
I have no issue asking men their age. Women, I'm more careful, but how old are you?
I recently turned 53.
And at what age can you retire?
I'm vested in retirement now, a percentage of a pension. I would have to look. I think I can, but I can't collect till 62. Okay. So I'm looking at around 62.
And do you have plans for when you retire, what you want to do? Move back to Idaho?
So in a perfect world, I think I would have a warm weather or a house maybe here in Arizona in the winter in the nice months, and a house somewhere up north in the summer in the nice months. We've talked about maybe getting a Sprinter van when I retire and just going and touring the country and parts of Canada for, I don't know, 3, 4, 6 months, whatever, doing that for a while. And then in an ideal world, I kind of like to be on a beach somewhere in retirement for part of the year. Yeah. Puerto Vallarta, I don't know. Sounds good to me.
This is one of those deep questions that, it's hard to answer right on the spot, but how do you want to be remembered?
I don't know that I care how I'm remembered. And what I mean by that, I think so many people chase fame or glory or whatever, and you could be the most famous person in the world, and after 50 years after you die, no one's going to remember who you are, or maybe you're an answer to a trivia question. So it's not that I want to be remembered as a scoundrel or a terrible person, but at the same time, I'm not out seeking some sort of fame to be remembered a certain way or something like that. I think just be a good person in life and things will work out.
And with that, we were done. And I know many of you have said, did you end it with, are you done yet? Or are you done? The phrase that he said to Lori, are you done? No, we didn't end it with that. But that is our interview with Judge Beresky. Several of you are asking where we shot that because it's such a beautiful set. That's his house. He and his wife Beth live in a beautiful home. It's unassuming from the outside driving by. It's in a nice neighborhood, but you go inside, they renovated, they gutted the whole thing. I hope I'm not giving away too much. Gutted the whole thing and decorated it. And I told them, I'm like, this is the perfect interview room because there's beautiful artwork on the walls and on the table, and they have a beautiful yard out back, perfect for entertaining, and a nice pool. And anyway, thank you to Judge Beresky, and would love to know your there. We have a lot of questions coming in here, I know, and I'm going to get to them. But I want to thank Judge Beresky for talking with me and for being willing to share his story. I called him yesterday and to fact check a couple of things. And he's like, man, I wonder if I'm already regretting this. I hope he doesn't regret it. Thank you for watching too. Let me know your thoughts of what we talked about. I know the number one thing you're going to say is, why couldn't you talk about Daybell? Because we can't. But maybe when he retires, we can get back together and talk Daybell. Before we get to your questions and comments, we have to thank newspapers.com. They are our sponsor for Courtroom Insider. They make that trip to Arizona, they made possible because we had to fly down there. We had to rent a car. We had to get a hotel. As the sponsor of Courtroom Insider, what they provide us is the ability to do in-depth interviews like what you just saw. And so I have to thank them a lot for, those trials are expensive to cover. I'm away from home, travel, food, all that sort of stuff. Newspapers.com makes it happen. And until the 23rd of November, you can get 30% off a gift subscription. You can give somebody a subscription, somebody who loves news, somebody who loves family history or true crime history. You can give them a subscription and get 30% off until November 23rd, which is what, this Saturday, this Friday? No, next Sunday. So about a week. And go to newspapers.com and thank you very much. And even if you want to try it out, you get 7 days for free. You can go try it out, look up whatever you want. If you like it, you can sign up for membership. If you don't, you can move on. But we want to thank newspapers.com for their support. Okay, here we go. We have some shout outs. Some cities. Caldwell, Idaho. Hello, Caldwell. Grangeville, Idaho. I bet you know the Bereskys. Thanks for watching, Grangeville. Somebody in Cold, Alaska. Thanks to Peggy, by the way, our comment moderator. She gathers all these. San Antonio, Texas. Hampshire, Texas. Hampshire. St. Anthony, Idaho. Lake County, Ohio. Western Washington, New Zealand. Cairns, Australia. I lived in Cairns. I've been out to the reef. I love Cairns. Yeah. Those of you in Cairns, thanks for watching. They have the beautiful rainforest up there too. Yeah. Anyway, Switzerland, Mount Vernon, Washington, and Phoenix. A lot of people watching in Phoenix. Thank you. Want to shout out Susan Johnson, Stephanie Fowler. It's her birthday. Happy birthday, Stephanie. Thanks for spending your birthday evening here. Seeking Truth and Justice. That is a great name to have. Gypsy Ducks. I don't know what that means, but Gypsy, thanks for watching. Gloria Thornton, Connie Powell, Richard Coons, Ruth England, Daniel Smith, and Michael Griffin. Thank you all very much for watching. Okay, now to your questions. Nate, great job on the interview. I have so much more respect for Judge Beresky. Thank you. Please thank him for talking with you. Is there anything you wanted to ask but didn't? Well, yes. And I think you know that line of questioning. Had it been a no holds bar interview, I would have said, so what'd you really think of Lori? Or what'd you think at this moment? I mean, we could have really focused on the trial. We didn't. And hopefully that is, honestly, you probably know what he thinks, or you have a good idea of what he thinks about that. But I hope that you got a whole different side of him, the human behind the bench. And, if he ever gets a massive high profile case again, you'll know all about him. And wouldn't that be ironic if he does? Nate, now that the case is over, why can't Judge Beresky talk about it? He won't ever see Lori again, right? Or will he? Maybe I'm misunderstanding. Well, there's no hearings currently scheduled for him with Lori. I believe there's still an outstanding restitution issue with Brandon Boudreaux. Small chance there could be another hearing, but there's appeals. And so if the judge comes out and immediately starts talking about she was stupid to, not saying he'd say this, I'm just saying no matter what he says, her team can be like, the judge came out and made comments, Your Honor. Your Honor, speaking to the appellate attorney, the appellate judges. So he just, can't talk about it. And that's just part of the ethical rules that judges have. What was Judge Beresky like off camera? What is his wife like? She's very sweet. And we actually met. So I had sent in the letter to him asking for an interview. And then when I think it was at the sentencing, the sentencing, Beth came and there was a break and I was at the back of the courtroom and she walked back and said, "Hi, Nate, I'm Beth. I'm Justin's wife." And I was thinking for a minute, Justin Lum from Fox 10? Like, that's not his wife. I've met her, but I'm like, "Oh, well, hi, good to meet you." And I'm like, "Wait, who are you again?" And she said, "Justin's wife, the judge." I'm like, "Oh, hi, how are you?" I said, "Tell him to talk to me, convince him to do an interview." And she's very sweet, very nice. They're very private people. And and I don't want to, divulge too much, but very very hospitable, beautiful home. We had dinner together and it just was a nice conversation. Very, very unassuming, just good people. So yeah. And he was like that off camera too. More funny, more sense of humor. Throughout it, say a couple jokes, but also, yeah, just a cool guy. Like we said, yeah. So it's common for reporters to go to dinner or lunch with their interview subjects. We before the interview or after the interview. I like to go before because you kind of get to know the people a little bit. And so, like some of the Daybell jurors, I went to dinner or breakfast with just because you kind of get to know them, they get to know you. So we met up at their house, and then we were going to go to dinner. And they said, "Where do you want to go?" And I said, "You choose." Just Jordan was with me too, our photog, and we said, "Oh, take us somewhere that's like a cool local hangout." And he's like, "Yeah, you want to ride with us?" And his wife was like, "You sit in the front." I'm like, "No, you sit in the front." She's like, "No, you sit in the front." So we all rode together, Jordan, Beth, me, and Judge Beresky, and had a good meal and then went back to the house and recorded the interview. How the flip-flops came about. So I didn't know what he was going to wear. I didn't know if he was going to be like formal. So I had a backup outfit in the car, like a suit type of outfit. And then I go, "So you're going to wear that?" He's like, "Well, yeah, what's wrong with this?" I'm like, No, nothing's wrong. You're fine. But if you're not, you can put it on." He's like, "Are you going to show my feet?" I go, "I don't think your feet will show." And they didn't. I don't know if they showed in the two shot, but definitely the photo on Facebook they did. But I don't know. If it was up to me, I would do every interview in shorts, a t-shirt, and flip-flops. That is ask Erica, my wife. I rotate through t-shirts. This to me is, I wear these for work, but I'm all about the Judge Beresky style. Okay. Does Judge Beresky know he has ladies all over the internet swooning? How does he handle the attention? He is very attractive. I believe he's somewhat aware. I know his wife is. He's not on social media, so I don't think he's reading the comments. Maybe if he's watching tonight now he knows, but he's aware. I think some of his friends would give him crap too. In fact, one of the guys I interviewed, go to eastidahonews.com when we're done, and there's a whole profile piece about him. And I don't think I included this about how his friend was like, "Yeah, he's always the hot judge. We go to social events with all the judges, and they're like, oh, there's Beresky." And one of his childhood friends told me that as a kid he had the young ladies liked him. So anyway, I think he's aware of it. Can you explain the process? How did you get this internet? I don't know what you mean. I think you mean interview. And I kind of explained that earlier, how I got the interview. I think that's what you mean. Do you think you will ever someone's autocorrect. Do you think you will ever interview Judge Boyce? I think more judges should give interviews because it helps us understand courts. Yeah, I agree with you. That'd be nice. I don't know if I'll interview Judge Boyce. I'd love to interview Judge Boyce. Maybe one day. We'll see. Also, I think Judge Beresky also said yes to me because I don't cover that market. I don't cover Arizona news unless it's big. And there's a very slim chance that I'm like going to run into him and that I'm covering his courtroom again, especially now that he's in juvenile. Most of those cases are closed to the public and to media. So it's kind of like he didn't, in my opinion, he didn't really have much to lose because I'm not going to be covering him. Now, I would love it if he got another high profile case because he was great with the media. I thought he was very fair, and I'd love to go cover it again. But it's a little different, I think, because Judge Boyce is here in Idaho, and I'll probably be covering stuff in his courtroom again. That being said, I'd love to interview him. Nate, can you talk about why he allowed cameras in the courtroom, even though he said he didn't like them? Boyce hated cameras and banned them right away. Well, in Arizona, the rules are far more open to the media and cameras. Basically, cameras are presumed and expected. Arizona has great camera laws. I think if he had a really compelling reason, he could not have cameras in there. But Judge Boyce did not allow cameras in the first trial. He did with Chad's trial. The cameras were awful, but he did at least allow them, and I appreciate that. There are there are other judges. We have judges here in Idaho that immediately give us access. Yep, live stream cameras, whatever. We have other judges that don't allow it or that will allow our video camera but no audio. They say we have to get the official court audio. I have no idea why. I have no idea why. We are in 2025 and people distrust government and the system and the man more than like ever in history. And so I'm all about showing it. And there's a lot of judges that understand it. There are a lot of judges that understand it, but there have been very high profile cases that have had cameras. If you're worried about the defendant, sorry, don't get me going on cameras. I appreciate Judge Beresky letting cameras in. But even though he said he didn't like cameras, I didn't get the idea that he's like opposed to them 100%. If you're not used to doing this job every day, cameras can be intimidating and people do act differently in front of cameras. They do. Sometimes for good, sometimes for bad, but they do. Nate, ask Judge Beresky to come to CrimeCon. Ooh, that'd be something. You and him can have an all-star panel. When it's over, he can say, "Are you done?" In all seriousness, great interview. I'm probably going to book a ticket to CrimeCon because of you. Please bring Beresky. Thanks. Hugs from Wisconsin. Well, thank you, Wisconsin. Hugs back at you. I don't know if Judge Beresky will come to CrimeCon. His wife is into true crime, and I did tell them about it. By the way, side note, CrimeCon tickets are available for Vegas. It's in Vegas in May. Use the promo code EATON, EATON. You get 10% off, and ticket prices will go up soon. They're never going to be cheaper than now, I believe. I know for sure that tomorrow, the Crime Cruise for next November, those ticket sales go up for sure, and they will not be cheaper. And you can use EATON, EATON, to get 10% off a standard badge for that. You can go to crimecon.com, get all the information on that. So just want to give you a heads up. If you're thinking about it, wondering, the cruise prices go up tomorrow. I'll be on the cruise. Erica will be on the cruise, my wife. Chris Hansen from the Take a Seat Predator, he'll be there. And several to-be-announced speakers. Maybe Beresky. No, that'd be something. Would you come? If the judge was on the cruise, he'd need to bring his wife because all you crazy ladies wouldn't leave him alone. I know that. Nate, next. Did Erica have any thoughts about the interview? How is her back doing? And what is the bed you mentioned that helped her sleep? I have a horrible back and sinus issue. I'm wondering if this would help. And what do you recommend? Oh, thank you. Erica, I don't know if she watched it yet. I mean, I'm here. We have been so busy, honestly, that she was thrilled when I told her I got the interview. She was happy and was glad that he agreed to do it. Erica has a vascular malformation in her back. That's a whole another story. But basically, a few weeks before we got married, she thought she had a little tumor in there. The doctor said it was a tumor. She went to get it out so that she could fit perfectly in her wedding dress. They opened up her back and found that it was a vascular malformation, which is a bunch of veins and arteries intertwined and wrapped around some of her, not organs, but the doctor did not want to cut it out or she would have bled to death. He sewed her back up. We went down to Duke University in North Carolina. The doctor started injecting it with alcohol. During the process, he punctured her lung. We didn't know that till we got back to Virginia. She had to go be admitted to the hospital for several days while they worked on her lungs. It was crazy. So Erica has not had any work done on that malformation for 10 years since we moved here to Idaho. And the good news, so because of that, she has issues sleeping. And we've gone through like 8 or 9 mattresses. and we just can't find the right one until one of you, a viewer of Courtroom Insider, Twinkle Beds in Utah, Bountiful, Utah, small mom and pop family owned business made in America, uh, reached out and said she should try our bed. And she did back in April or May. And it's been the best bed we've ever had. She's sleeping better. I'm sleeping better. We loved him so much. Our kids have twinkle beds now. So, anyway, that's a diversion. She's doing better with the back. She went to a specialist a few weeks ago, and she's just going to kind of let it. Fortunately, it hasn't grown too much. It's still there, and we will. It's not going to kill her. I mean, if it were like wrapping around her heart or her spine or something, we would need to do something. But for now, it's just very uncomfortable, especially in the cold. So if you want to learn more about that bed, you can go to Twinkle Beds. They also are doing a promo for you, really. Night Nate, NITE. You get 30% off plus 10% off, both discounts, plus a free Minky blanket. Those beautiful, nice, like hundreds of dollars blankets for free if you buy a bed, a mattress, or a base, or maybe I think you just need. They have all the details on there. You can go find out, and that's good through the end of the month for Thanksgiving. So good Christmas gifts. Thank you. Do you think Judge Beresky might run for attorney general or governor or something like that? He seems like he could be a great politician. I wondered that. I don't think he has any desire to do politics. I could see it be one of those things where maybe he's appointed, but my opinion, I have no idea. Maybe he'll be announcing a run for governor next year. I could see him being out, I could not see him being out begging for votes. He likes to kind of be in the background and just, not the center of attention. What were the judge's kids like? Is he a family man? Seems like a family man. I didn't meet his son. I did meet his daughter. She was very sweet. And yeah, they seem like they have a really good time together. Nate, can you have on Mike King to talk about cults more in depth? Your interview with him was amazing. Thank you. Last Friday, I had on Mike King to talk about the Zion Society, which was a cult in northern Utah that was Mike King investigated. He was the lead investigator, and it led to just insanity, a bunch of sex acts between children and adults. And anyway, I'm going to have Mike on. He's written a book, and I'm going to have him back on, and we'll go more in depth, and we'll take your questions. He's got a channel called Profiling Evil. Nate, who is your next big interview? Good question. I have a wish list, and I don't like to say it out loud because what if another reporter is watching and beats me to it? But honestly, at the moment, I'm focusing on getting through Secret Santa season, and then I'll think about that. And that our next question. I found your channel and it's down a Secret Santa rabbit hole mixed with crazy true crime. I live in Germany and had never heard of Lori and Chad Daybell, and I watched all the trials this month. Can you tell me more about Secret Santa? Well, thank you for watching in Germany. Secret Santa, 10 years ago, we were brand new at East Idaho News. I got a call one day from a local guy who said, hey, I have $100,000 I want to give away this Christmas, but I don't know who to give it to. I really want people who are like in true need. Can you help? You run a news website. Can you find the people? And I said, well, I'll help, but I want to go and record the people getting these gifts, surprise them. It makes really good content, and it helps inspire others to give. And so he said, okay, let's give it a try. We did. And it was a huge success. And the next year we did it again. We've done it 10 years. This is year 11, actually. We're at $1 million. So we're giving away $1 million of Secret Santa's money between November 1 and the end of the year. And so every day, just today, we were out in Pocatello surprising 2 different people. We go out and we surprise people. Some days we do 8, some days we do 1 or 2, and then we share the videos with you. And they're really incredible people who have overcome so much. And we hope, and I know based on the emails that I get daily, multiple times a day from people watching, that it is inspiring them to do good too, anonymously. It's inspired me to do it. It's inspired a lot of people I know to just do good anonymously. And so that's what Secret Santa is. And you can watch all those videos here on our YouTube channel. I think we're up to like 700. Nate, do you think Trina K would do an interview with you or Lori's legal team? I've asked Trina K. The response I got is she is not doing any, but I would still love to. Or Lori's legal team. I also asked her paralegal, and her paralegal's like, no. Maybe Jim Archibald might one day in Idaho. That'd be good. I think that's it. I want to tell you that tomorrow on Courtroom Insider, we're going to have a woman here who sent me this email tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Mountain Time. She wrote me and said, my name is so-and-so. I'm a foster mom whose report and advocacy contributed to the arrest, prosecution, and 40-year prison sentence of a man who targeted multiple children in Idaho and embedded himself in youth programs. He's been sentenced 30 years fixed, 10 years indeterminate, lifetime sex offender registry, 40-year no contact order. The case is chilling, not just because of the crime, but because of how close he was to our family. He gained trust. He was welcomed in our home. He volunteered in youth programs and he groomed from the inside. I have information families need to know about how predators groom parents first, how they manipulate institutions and leaderships, the signs that are easy to miss, and what to do when you feel something isn't right. Idaho has made history with powerful child protection laws, but without public awareness, children remain vulnerable. You will hear her story tomorrow night, Courtroom Insider, 7 o'clock Mountain Time on the East Idaho News YouTube channel right here. So I hope you'll join me again tomorrow night. We'll also discuss any other true crime news that might be in the news. In the meantime, here's where you can find me. Facebook, Nate Eaton Reporter, Instagram, N Eaton, and then I'm on X at Nate News Now and on YouTube. Please subscribe to our channel if you haven't, no matter where you're watching, if it's here or on Meet and the Eatons, our family channel. That does help us reach more people. It helps us continue to make videos like this, and hopefully you enjoy them. Again, my thanks again to Judge Justin Beresky and his wife and his whole team for just being class acts through all of this. Again, I know it can't be easy opening up your mind and your words and your heart somewhat and your job and everything to some reporter that calls you and emails you randomly out of the blue. But here we are. The other issue, side note, that kind of, I mean, I was subpoenaed by Lori in the trial. So I hadn't dealt with Judge Beresky directly, but it was a little odd that I was inserted into the case. Fortunately, we hired an attorney who cost a lot of money, who got me excused from all that. But anyway, that was another weird twist in all of this weirdness. But the one person that's not weird, right, is Judge Beresky. Unless you ask his kids, then they say he's weird. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good night. I'm Nate Eaton. See you later.